Have you ever been curious about astral projection? How does astral travel relate to more than just out-of-body experiences? Find out on this episode of the PEEP podcast. Welcome to the PEEP podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Maroc, and on this episode, I'm introducing you to artist and intuitive Elaine Clayton. But first, I have a few points of gratitude to share. Point 1. October 7th was the PEEP podcast's 3rd anniversary. I launched this little podcast in 2020, unsure if I'd even find 10 listeners, and to my delight, I now have listeners around the world, from the USA and Canada to Australia and New Zealand, and many countries in between. I want to thank everyone who listens, those who recommended the show to friends, and all those who have rated the podcast where they can. Your actions have been a great help and so encouraging, and it's an honor to continue to be a part of your world. Point 2. As of this recording, I've done 4 of my 5 Haunted Carolina presentations at the Wake County Public Libraries, and it's been so much fun. I have one more to go on Monday evening at Northeast Regional Library in the Wakefield area of the Triangle, and I'm excited to meet all who come. The audiences have been awesome so far, with great questions and good engagement. It all makes me so happy to be able to do these talks in person again. I was asked if the presentation would be recorded, and technically it was recorded on video last Wednesday at North Regional Library, but there was a strange and distracting sound that kept happening randomly throughout my presentation. We thought it was someone's phone, but at one point, everyone took their phones out to double check they were silenced, and it still kept happening. I don't know if it was paranormal, but it wasn't the greatest representation of my presentations, so I may try to record it again Monday night. From there, I'll decide the best way to make it available. I'm leaning toward resurrecting my old YouTube channel that's been dormant for several years. I don't know. I'll keep you posted. Point 3. Thank you to everyone who has signed up for my newsletter at peeppodcast.com. On Halloween evening, I'll be drawing a name randomly from my subscriber list, and the winner will receive a free signed copy of my nonfiction book, Please Don't Call Me Psychic: Stories from My Paranormal Life. If you want in on the drawing, subscribe before 5 p.m. Eastern Time on October 31st, 2023. I'll email you if you're the lucky winner. Now back to tonight's topic, astral travel with Elaine Clayton. Elaine is an internationally known author, artist, teacher, intuitive healing arts practitioner, and Reiki master in New York City, Connecticut, and Atlanta. Her books on intuitive intelligence and creativity include The Way of the Empath, Making Marks, Discover the Art of Intuitive Drawing, and Illuminara Intuitive Journal. She is the author and illustrator of many books for children, including Pulitzer Prize-winning author Jane Smiley and Gregory Maguire, author of the popular novel the smash hit Broadway play is based on, Wicked. Other new titles include books in the trendy A Little Bit of series, A Little Bit of Angels, and A Little Bit of Fairies. Elaine has done editorial illustration for the New York Times Book Review, and several magazines. Her oracle and meditation card decks include Illuminara Intuitive Journal with cards and the Tree of Life Oracle. Elaine teaches courses currently via Zoom and in person when safe to a wide variety of learners in schools, libraries, and museums. including adults with learning disabilities, children with autism, at-risk youth, privately for healing arts practitioners and individuals of all professions. Drawing courses focus on the link between intuitive intelligence and the development of empathy and creative exploration and empowerment. Elaine is also a Reiki master and intuitive, doing sessions worldwide and in person when possible. You can learn more about her art, books, and explorations in intuitive intelligence by visiting www.elaineclayton.com. I'll have a link in the show notes. Let's dive in with Elaine. Hi, Elaine. How are you doing today?
Hi, good morning. Or is it afternoon? It's already afternoon.
Oh, my goodness, it is.
Time flies.
It really
Yeah.
does.
Thank you, Nikki, for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. This is a topic that I have not covered on the podcast yet. So, really excited for my listeners to hear about this. And today we are talking about astral projection, or it could be called other things if you want to fill them in on other
Yeah,
names.
you can say teleportation, out of body experience, astral travel. I think all of it conveys other dimensional realms that we might be aware of, other layers of consciousness and knowing, with the sensation of being somewhere else other than where your body really is. So, you're projecting, or you feel like you're traveling, and sometimes you indeed really are zooming through space.
Yeah.
It's
This is
literally you're seeing stuff. And whenever you're ready, I'll tell you all kinds of, ways in which I have experienced it. And I would love to hear anything that you have too, because I think we all have some of this going on.
Oh yeah. It goes back to the paranormal is more normal than most people think.
Yeah.
So first I want to ask, how did you get interested in this topic?
Well, that's really fun actually to go back way back when. It's a blend of things. Like I was always drawing, even when I was really, really, really little. And so for me, I would kind of transport myself through the drawing because they would become very real. You notice when 5-year-olds are playing and they turn the living room into Cinderella's castle, and it is Cinderella's castle. It's not the living room anymore. Like they really know how to create at that age. You really do transcend your environment with whatever your imagination or your ideas. And I think that so that was going on. I was drawing a lot, and the people, and I love drawing people, so they became real people to me, and I would know their name and I would know what they were doing and what they wore, and I was so fascinated by all that. But at the same time, other things were going on, like I had overwhelming dreams, heavily cinematic, covering very hefty themes that adults like to think of kids as they don't understand. Oh, they won't know, they won't get it. Kids get it all. They don't always know how to verbalize it, but they're taking it in, and they do see all the themes adults work on, all the things that are sort of happening. And I just know this because of the dreams. And so I remember, and you might appreciate this one. This one, oh my gosh. Okay, it's like heavy with some Catholicism imagery.
Okay.
I'm one of 7. My mother had a lot of kids. This is back in Texas, and my dad was a doctor for this small town. There were only a few doctors. So it was hard because you could hear the phone ring and he had to go. He had a little black doctor's bag. It's behind this painting. And my mother thrived, but I think she had to handle most of everything. And then he also had to he was taking care of everything that happened, on Route 66 and birth and farm accidents and all that. So this dream, I dreamed that, and I'm telling you this dream not to bore you, but because it's pivotal for me on why I became, interested in developing all this stuff. There were sliding door, closets at the foot of the bed, yards across from the foot of the bed. And in my dream, there was a crucifix, a real one, a real cross. And I walked up to it, and my mother was on the cross,
Oh,
and she was crying, because it was painful. And I knew then that I never saw my mother cry or anything. I just knew I was sensing how hard some of the stuff probably was for her.
mhm.
And I was blending it with Catholic imagery, really intense Catholic imagery, right? Because
Right.
suffering and all that. And as I looked up, as I started to look down, guess who was at the foot of the cross?
Jesus? Mary?
No, my dad. And he
Oh,
was nailing, I guess he had a wood shop, and he was nailing the nails into the cross.
oh
So can
my.
you see how heavy that theme is for like a
Yes.
5 or 6 year old?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we would say we could do Jung and Freud and all that, and pretty much gather a victimizing feeling that the mother has, and the sense of the unwitting perpetrator. He didn't know, he was just in his wood shop, and I knew he didn't even know that it was nailing through. It
Yeah.
just wasn't. It was just he's haplessly not realizing while he's in his wood shop that this is what the scene is. So this dream was such a nightmare that I was overwhelmed, and I woke up and I stumbled out into the big room where my mother and dad were having guests, because it was the 1960s, and my dad was making like green, what are those the green drinks, like creme de mint or
Yeah.
grasshopper. They had the foam on top.
Yeah.
And I walked up, and my dad, he was so sweet and intuitive and compassionate, and he said, um, what are you doing up? And I said, but I had a nightmare. And he's stirring these drinks. And he said, well, what was it about? And I said, I can't tell you. And he said, why not? And I said, because I'll get in trouble.
Oh.
And he said, you can't get in trouble from a dream. You cannot get in trouble from your dreams because of your dreams. And so I remember the mounting emotion that welled up in me as I spilled it out. And he laughed because it was funny for, I mean, he understood that, he didn't see that coming, I don't think. And I think he understood
Yeah.
too immediately. And later he ended up going into psychiatry, actually. He said people would ask him for advice and he didn't always know. But what he taught me at that moment, and then worked with me through my childhood and into young adulthood, was that, first of all, dreams are there to serve us, but you can't be blamed for anything in a dream.
Mhm.
And though they can be very overwhelming, you can understand them. You can do something, they give you something. And since I couldn't help but have dreams every night that were often so overwhelming, this was really helpful. And my dad never analyzed any dreams of mine, but he would say, teach me how to. So I kept dream journals and all that. And of course, that opens up a lot. And then we had a lot of sort of psychic stuff in our family. There was interest in that. I have a lot of Southern stories of, my grandmother, my paternal grandmother especially, was really interested in, they had family ghost stories and things
Yeah.
like that. So that was a long answer to your question. I apologize, but
That's okay.
yeah, there was a reason, and the short answer would be, oh, because I had overwhelming dreams, I had to learn how to cope with them.
Mhm.
Later, I learned how to change them because I didn't like certain recurring nightmares, and I learned that you can change them. I learned about Edgar Cayce and what he said, and how the Iroquois tribe, um, they would teach their kids, or still do, not to ever let anything overpower you in a dream, that you have to take charge. So I realized, yeah, I don't have to take this in this dream. And you start talking to yourself in your own dreams, and you're very lucid in your dreams. And
Mhm.
so that's really probably the main reason why I got into all this.
I actually love that answer. It wasn't too long. It was a good answer. Um, yeah, so at what point did you start becoming more interested in astral travel? Like, does that relate? I mean, obviously, based on your answer, it relates to the dreams, but at what point did you realize that that's something that you could do?
I think that that's a little fuzzier, but how I would sort of verbalize the understanding of that is that I was aware that a lot of times when you're really paying attention to your dreams, you're having precognitive information slide in for you, which means you were somewhere in that astral plane that told you something that our construct of time wouldn't really reveal to us. So how did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
So then I started to be aware of, well, okay, dreaming is being in an astral state, and there are many levels of, and very many energetic, emotional, like very many different colors, feelings, and things in different dreams. So all these astral layers that you can go through in your sleep state made me be aware that astral projection ends up coming to us even when we don't try through dreaming. And then you can also play with, you start to be aware of the ways in which you already do it. Like imagine when you were in junior high and you had a terrible crush on someone.
Mm-hmm.
You're going there. All of your energy is not on whatever your homework is or anything. You are sending yourself energetically to that person, right? I
Right.
mean, we would even do, oh, please call, please call, please. You know, you're like amassing a lot of energy toward that wish that you have. And so you end up sometimes having experiences where it worked, you felt, or that you saw something that you couldn't have really seen. And so then I started paying attention to what that is. Now, where I still have a little bit of an issue with astral projection is the difference between a spiritual orientation and then your own free will running amok. And I say that because we have a lot of things we want to go to, see, do, know about. Like a lot of people are really into kind of covert knowledge so I can use it in a way that would benefit me. That I'm not that comfortable with. Like if I said, I'm gonna astral over to Nikki's place right now, there's a sense of a violation a little bit there.
Yeah.
Now, if you, and there are people who just can do it and they do it. I like to play with it, but I don't feel comfortable crossing boundaries so I would like in my willful astral projections, I'll sort of say a prayer first that if it's God's will, if it's okay, if it does no harm, can I please, I want to go here or there. Most of the astral experiences I've had that are extremely notable, you know what? It's as if you're being pulled by your silver cord. Have you heard about the silver cord?
Yeah, but you can explain it for people who haven't.
Okay. Well, I can just explain it how I experienced it. So I had been really ill with Lyme's disease in Connecticut. I had a terrible case of Lyme's disease. So you're rendered really just, I was in bed a lot. And it took about 5 years to get over the acute, effects of it. But I realized I could become more deeply spiritual because I had this time that I was laying there. And I started to be aware when I closed my eyes that I could see a white line, kind of glowing line that moved up from my solar plexus. And I was seeing it often. If, like when you're changing position at night when you're sleeping and there's a moment where you are awake, and I would see it then. I can see it now. I have to go into kind of really super relaxed state to allow myself to perceive it. But I became aware of this, and I started to try to learn, well, what is that? Because I didn't have a knowledge really of what that was visually. I hadn't really seen it like that before, but I had experienced being pulled by it in astral experiences. So what I think is going on sometimes, and I would love to know if others, want to comment on this, when they hear this, if they want to, have a platform where they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
That when, let's say, like some of the ones that are just crazy, you don't really know where you're going, but someone has some force. Maybe it's God, maybe it's your guides. I don't really know, but it feels benevolent. It's all okay. Your heart is activated, but you are being pulled through some town, someone's apartment. I was in someone's apartment pre-dawn, and I knew immediately it was some guy's place. How did I know? Because he had on the little dinette table all this radio equipment and stuff, cords, and it was just someone who's interested in technology. And I knew he was asleep upstairs. And I was freaking out because you're not supposed to be in someone else's place.
Right.
And I was, oh my gosh. And I was kind of, it felt physically like a little bit like I was in the position that I was in literally in my body. So it was kind of on my side. It was a little bit awkward, but I was so happy to be pulled right out of there because I don't want to be in someone else's space like that. That just, if you're there. So if they can't see you, fine. But, so they can be really colorful, interesting stories. And, I have a lot of them. I don't know how many you want to hear, but the silver cord experience is a little different from me just with my free will saying, I'm determined to go over there right now. You can do it, and you can do it with someone being in agreement with you. Like I was talking to another healer who I met through the Institute for Intuitive Studies that is connected with Edgar Cayce's Center in Virginia Beach.
Mm-hmm.
We were at a retreat thing together for intuitive studies, and I was doing a reading for her. We were talking on the phone. I was doing this intuitive reading, and I said, I think I'm at your place. There's a white bookshelf, and I can't remember, something was on top of it. And she was like, yeah, that's where I am right now, but I'd never been to her place before.
Yeah.
So it happened. Now that wasn't where I was willfully trying to get in her space, but we were in each other's energetic space. And I asked her, I didn't have to say anything, but people, if you pay attention when you're engaged with someone, pay attention to whatever third eye imagery you have, like flashes of imagery that you have. And it's like the back movie, because right now I'm focused on you. I'm not focused on images, but sometimes, you get one. And why did you get that? It ends up being pretty potent. So a lot of the psychic experiences that I have, you are right here and you're maybe being psychic about something, yet you get an image, a part of you is somewhere else. How is that happening? So I believe that astral projection has many different modalities, I guess I would say, that it's all kind of in one zone. Mediumship, psychometry, when you can hold an object and you're transported consciously to something about, a scene, a place, the way in which that object once served people or whatever. There's just so many ways in which we are actually in the act of astral projection. It's just subtle.
Yeah. So, couple of questions. One is, you kind of talked about free will, and so what is the difference between willful astral travel and received astral experiences?
Okay. So I would say right now, like after we do this interview, if I want to go astral, I would go lay down. I would become almost in that sort of hypnagogic state, like that wonderful, totally relaxed state before you fall asleep or as you're waking up, where you're really somewhere else still. You're not completely immersed in the physical. And I would say I would like to astral travel right now. And if I'm really relaxed with my eyes closed, I start zooming. I'm either zooming through the cosmos, stars going through me, or I'm going through them. Or what often happens with me, I'm on some country road. I don't know why it starts out that way. I love the countryside, but you are zooming along, and I'm trying to look to see you're going so fast though. And then you go on to whatever else you experience. That's one way. I am willfully saying I would like to have this experience. It's thrilling. It's amazing. It's interesting. I don't have to really understand it, but something's happening.
Mhm.
And I will pay attention to what I'm seeing and I will write that down later, etc. There's that. Then there's the kind, like I said, where it's a little covert, like when people are really kind of high on knowledge that is secret or that is, it can be put to good use. Let's say like with remote viewing.
Mm-hmm.
Now that to me is when I don't love doing remote viewing per se because it feels not spiritual. It
Yeah.
feels metallic somehow. I'm trying to find words.
It's more clinical.
It's clinical, and I am not so great about that. However, I've played with it before, and I think if we're talking about, top secret security for our nation or whatever, that's why they're interested in it, is that there are people, they know it works. They know you can do it. They'll deny it. They don't want anyone to know we do it. Everyone knows by now that we do have had a program, and so there is that, which I think even though the person doing it is doing it in a very clinical, as you say, way, yet the information could save millions of lives.
Right.
It could also be used to destroy. So, like everything else, because we live in this duality, does it have love in it, or does it have the kind of, I guess you could say almost kind of love that actually is destructive,
Yeah.
So what I don't love to do for me is to want to be curious about someone's life or the details of someone's life and then willfully project to their space. Because I just don't know that doesn't feel right for me.
Right. I feel like you would need permission to do something like that.
You
Just like
would.
when you're doing energy work, you need permission to enter their energetic space.
I think so. And otherwise, I would say, like, let's say I'm doing an intuitive reading and someone wants to know about someone that they're having a hard time with or whatever. Like, that's what we ask about when we're distressed. What is it? Usually it's a relationship thing or it's something that has hurt us and, etc. So you're in a sacred bond. This is my orientation to it. In an intuitive session like that, you're in a sacred bond for the healing and wholeness for that person that you're engaged with. When they then talk about a loved one, maybe it's a loved one who died, maybe it's that relationship dynamic that is giving them pain. You astral in a way there too, your consciousness goes there. Mm-hmm. So you are in a sense, but it's for the service of something good. It's not exactly the same.
Right.
As just because I want to. I don't care who gets hurt if I know this stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I do think those kinds of the kind of psychic information you get about people, or like let's say, for example, yesterday I was doing a reading with someone, and I do a drawing when I'm doing a reading, like before the reading. I wrote a book here. I'll show it to you. Nobody can see it, but it's with Simon & Schuster, Making Marks Discover the Art of Intuitive Drawing. So I wanted people to use drawing to get more creative, to get more intuitive, but you have to close your eyes and use your non-dominant hand, because then you don't stop yourself and criticize yourself. Most people love the act of drawing, but they start criticizing. So I'm trying to use drawing as a way to get more psychic and get more creative, because I think we're happier when we know things that we need to know and when we're creative. So anyway, I had done this drawing for the person that I was reading for. And in the drawing, I said, after I open my eyes, I intuit all the images that I drew with my eyes closed. I said, there's a pipe here, which makes me think of my uncle, because he smoked a pipe. Yeah. So do you have an uncle that you have on your heart in one way or another? And she said, oh, Uncle Hector. And I immediately I started telling her, he's thin and kind of wiry and kind of fluid energy, and he has a mustache. Yeah, that's Uncle Hector. Uncle Hector's here. I mean, we had a blast with Uncle Hector. So what's happening? Did he come to me or did I go to him, or is it sort of both? There's no real space between there is
Yeah.
no time or space between knowing. So to me, mediumship is a form of astral projection, and then the energy that he brings for her in her life helps her transcend situations and things like that. So, but there's 100 stories like that because people have all kinds of mediumship. Like you could you see a feather or a button or something that
Hmm.
is an uncanny sign or synchronicity from someone that who it's from.
Yep.
That too, in a way, is some form of astral projection because they have come into your physical awareness in some way.
So just being able to connect with what we call the other side in some way is
Mhm.
a form of astral projection.
I think it is. I think it is. So all of the things that happen in your dreams should be noted because dreams are multidimensional. You can analyze them psychologically, emotionally, but there's also a spiritual astral element. So again, they're multidimensional. Also in our waking hours, our thoughts, let's think about this. We project our thoughts all the time and
Mm-hmm.
our feelings. You can tell when someone's mad at you. They're not even with you, but you got a surge of feeling. Oh, I better call so and so because
Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean?
Yes.
What happened? Did they project their thought and feeling to you? A form of their consciousness, astral projected to you.
And when that happens, that's received because it's not your willful act. It's
You're
received
just
by you.
being you, but if you're
Yeah,
angry and you're angry at someone, or you have a lot of emotional volume about a particular situation, but you know how they say thoughts are things, we kind of have to be more consciously aware of how powerful our thoughts are.
absolutely.
Yeah. So if you ask me, when we're talking about any kind of knowing and any kind of understanding of knowing that isn't trapped in the concretized notion of our body and our brain that we act like is, just in a body and that's all there is to it. Anytime we think or feel, have images that come through, daydreams, all of that, these are forms of astral projection, if you ask me. But I do want to say most people are going to want to play with it to find out things they want to know because that's very compelling.
Oh yeah. We're all curious on some level.
Yeah, and you can't help it. Like I said, when you're in junior high, if you could
Yeah.
astral over to the person's house who you have a crush on, you're doing it. And so you can develop that. And I've known people who are very good at doing that in that way. And the way I do it is a little bit more. I mean, I like to be spiritually aligned. I want to feel aligned.
Mhm.
But, you don't control everything that you do in a dream state astral, though. And I've had some of the wilder ones where when I was in that kind of hypnagogic state.
Yeah. So, well, like you were saying, you had one situation where you were in a guy's apartment and you didn't know the guy,
And
you
I
know.
didn't, as far as the part of me that was consciously, I would never have chosen to be threaded through his apartment at pre-dawn. In
Right.
some city, I don't know. The vibrational energy of that city made me think it was someplace like Wisconsin or, like in Madison. I don't know, but it definitely wasn't where I was living. I felt like it was Midwest.
Yeah.
Then I had one too that this one is so wild, but the other quality is sometimes you're about several feet above others.
Mm-hmm.
You're flying around, you know,
Yeah.
and that's pretty exciting because oh my gosh, you're looking around. Well, I was in probably 10 feet or 12 feet above looking down. It was nighttime. I consciously told myself, I think I'm in Australia in this astral.
Okay.
There were trees that were kind of catching the light of a window from a window where someone was in a room of a house. And I decided to go into that room. So I go through the window. I'm in a bathroom and a guy is looking in the mirror, combing his hair, and he saw me.
Oh no.
Right. I think he had just gotten out of the shower. He saw me in the mirror and then turned to look at me. And he was actually handling it okay. His girlfriend, I think, picked up on the vibe of something because she knocked on the door. She wanted to talk to him all of a sudden. And he opened the door, he was gonna tell her, look, look. And she saw me and started screaming,
Oh my
screaming.
gosh.
And so I got out of there really fast. But now if once I'm out of that, I wouldn't have done that, like
Right.
I'm the person that you're talking to here that as far as I know, I would not have. So there's an element to co-creating here. Like, okay, I found myself somewhere. I was curious about that light. I went in there. I don't know if there's a whole unconscious self that drives so much that the you out of meditation or out of a dream astral state or whatever, you wouldn't really do because you would know better. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of mischief involved.
Yeah. And I'm laughing so hard because I'm doing 5 talks at the libraries in October, and my talk is titled All the Ways a House Might Be Haunted. And
Oh,
like
yes.
time slips and interdimensional, and it didn't even occur to me it could be somebody astral projecting. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to add that to my talk.
Absolutely add it because really, again, I'm so fascinated by this talk. If I could come to it, I would. So maybe you'll have it recorded and I can see it. But like, so with ghosts, for example,
Mm-hmm.
okay, there again, you have a soul energy willing itself around. We will ourselves around. I'm got to go to the grocery store. I want to do that. I'm deciding I'm not going to do this. Or, we're deciding on all these layers of how we're going to think about something, how we're going to understand something, where we're going to put ourselves. And that continues after you don't have your body. I mean, you're doing it when you have a body because you're doing it with your thoughts and feelings anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But when you don't have a body anymore, but you have your light body, you're still curious in some way, and so some of the ghosts I've seen can range from benevolent, curious people who skip time. I mean, because they're from a different century sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but it's only 5 minutes to them.
Yeah.
Or they're young and they are not even aware yet. They always have a minder if they're young. There's someone kind looking after them, thank God, because I don't like the idea of not.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are people that don't want to go toward the light. They kind of like they usually show up as wounded in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that they are hurting, but they also may be choosing not to be okay too. We do it now. We do it now, right? And then there are the ones that you would not want around at all. They're either somewhere in the range of extremely mischievous with others, doing that with other ghosts, or they're very shadowy entities I don't want to have anything to do with. So I always protect my space. But I would say their soul energy is astraling all around.
Yeah. But it's just, to me, it's funny that you probably showed up as a ghost to those people.
I'm sure they thought I was a ghost.
That was exactly what
they were so freaked out. I mean, the guy wasn't freaked. The guy was actually, whoa, this is interesting. He was not jumpy or anything. I don't think he put it together 100% because it was fast, I'm sure. But when she was screaming, I'll never forget it. I know what he was sort of a golden blondish brown hair, curly. She had long, like past her shoulder a little bit, light brown hair. They were probably 22 or so, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder if someone in Australia is telling this story.
Right?
I don't know.
I was just brushing my hair and all of a sudden there was a face in the mirror.
Yeah.
And once again, I don't like mirrors now.
You don't like mirrors?
No,
now?
I'm just kidding. That's one of those, like, you grow up with a sibling who talks about Bloody Mary and it makes you afraid to look in a mirror in the dark kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Well, and mirrors they're very, people, I guess it goes back to the oracle, like of Delphi or something, was it, or they would gaze into water. And so
Right.
mirrors have your image gets projected onto that mirror.
Yeah.
It's another form of projection too. All
Yes.
of this stuff is kind of illusory, everything. So yeah, interesting though.
So I guess another question that I have is if somebody is listening to this and they're like, I don't think I've ever had an experience like that. Like, but they're interested and they're curious and they want to try to have that experience. What would your advice to them be?
My first advice would be for them to keep a dream journal and to understand that when they fall asleep, they are having experiences which cannot be denied. They're being impressed upon, and they have a sensation that they're making an impression on situations while they're asleep in places beyond the bedroom and the place in which their body lies, right? I would start honoring dreams first because it does a few things. It lets you start to cooperate with what you're being given in the sleep state and see it as highly worthy to you for conscious awareness. So it has a huge beneficial, bunch of gifts to give us, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other way in which it helps learn how to astral or to be psychic, period, is you become someone more connected to astral states in your waking, walking around place. Okay, so like as you go to work, as you make fry an egg or whatever it is you're doing, if you have that a part of your conscious awareness open to the dream states that you had the night before or in general, you are allowing yourself to have a more fluid relationship with that ability so that then you can say, like I described earlier, where I'll just go, I feel like astral projecting. I'm going to go lay down. Let's see what happens. And you start, so you have to be really, really relaxed in your body. You have to allow yourself, you can almost feel yourself rise up out of the body. Like the body doesn't 100% dominate everything. So you get as comfortable as you can, because if you have an itch or if you get out of relaxation, you lose. And everyone who
Yeah.
astrals knows this. I got to stay relaxed. I don't want to lose where I am right now. This is so amazing. I don't want to lose it. And so then you start developing this in a more deep way. And I think from one individual to another, it will be unique.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are ways in which there are standard generalizations for all of us. And then there are ways in which someone might experience it differently from the way I do. But that would be the first thing I would do, because it takes no effort to just lay down and dream. Now, if you could say, I don't remember my dreams, then what you do is you just say for a few weeks, all day long, as many times as you remember, I will remember my dream tonight. And you keep a notepad by the bed and you say before you go to sleep, I'm going to remember my dream. You keep on telling your subconscious that this is what you're going to do. You want to do it. When you wake up holding that dream that you just had, and you know that if you move, you'll lose it again. You'll leave an astral awareness when you move. You just sort of reach over and on that pad and with the pencil lightly jot down a few words that will take you back to the awareness of the dream.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't do that and you get up and your mind is on task, then you will probably go, oh, I can't remember it. I can't remember. So there's like a couple of techniques you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a really fun thing recently. I had to have surgery. And I remember a Cherokee mentor that I had years ago telling me, and she was a really amazing seer, and she said that I think she had been a nurse at one point, but when she had to have surgery, she said, and I decided I wanted to see what they were doing during the surgery. So and I thought with this recent surgery, I want to do that too. I want to hear what they're saying and everything. And so I think I terrified the anesthesiologist and the doctor because they all know I'm the wacky lady, because they wheeled me out, and I knew, because I was seeing myself from above on my side, because they had to operate on this one on my right side. So I was on my left side, and there was only a little bit of the like cover on me. So a lot of me was exposed. And again, I saw myself from several feet above, and I saw the anesthesiologist guy right up next to me, like real close, like he was really observing. And when he came in to see me after the surgery, just to make sure I was okay, I said, "Oh, I wanted to see you all during the surgery." And I did. And I said, I said, so, and I described how I looked, and I said, "And you were talking to me, but I can't remember what we were talking about. That's the only thing I'm right now. I cannot remember what we were talking about." And he said, "Well, I said to you, are you ready to go to the beach?" Like he was talking about them at the point where he got me was getting me relaxed or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, yes. Yeah. And I told you that I wanted to go to," and then I named some beach or something, but, and his face just fell because he said that to make himself know I was out already.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think my body replied.
But you
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah. And then it's a little mysterious because when the doctor came in and I told him, his face kind of fell too. And he's a really sweet doctor. But he said, "Oh, you weren't near like dying or anything." And I said, "No, I know that." But then I thought later, that if your numbers drop suddenly and they would give you, they don't bother they're not telling you that usually.
Right.
So I think that it could have been interesting in there in ways that I don't probably need to know, but I
Yeah.
mean, that did occur to me. But so next time you have surgery, I highly recommend trying it.
Yeah, that's way more interesting than my experiences with surgery is closing my eyes and then opening them, and it's like an hour later, 2 hours
Yeah.
later, and it's like, well, no, I just lost
Where was I?
time.
Yeah, where was I? Yeah. And it's that way when we sleep, but there's a reason why we sleep. I mean, we understand it. Oh, well, that's when your body repairs. Yeah, but that's when all the spiritual, intellectual, emotional activity starts happening. And we know we can't deny those episodes because, all of us have had the dream where you wake up and you go, "Oh my God, I'm so glad that's just a dream. I am not going to do that thing.
Right.
I'm not doing it." Or, you wake up and you realize, I need to talk to so and so, or I need to, I mean, so it's ridiculous that we have neglected such a phenomenal aspect of our human life. People even look at sleep as, a waste of time.
Yeah.
And I actually will say we're all here for different reasons, and at different points in life, we have different jobs to do. And we may have a period where being in la la dream astral projection land is not serving your soul purpose. Because, like the surgeon doesn't need to go, "Oh, while I was operating on you, I astral projected to China." No, I really don't want him to do that. I want him to, okay, I want him to, if he's going to project somewhere, go into my body and what's best for me at that time.
Right.
Or when you're raising kids or whatever, like there are things you need to do to focus. So I'm not trying to say that there's one way for all of us, but if you're curious about and you feel like you do want to know how to, astral project, or if you've had a near-death experience where you already know what it's like to be highly aware of the other levels of existence for our soul experiences, then, it might be that you can't live shutting that off either. So you might as well develop it.
Yeah. I think the first time I intentionally astral projected, and I haven't done it much since, just because, like, I don't know, I went through those phases where that was not going to serve me, but it was Reiki 1.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yes, it
when
will
I
happen in
learned,
attunement.
yeah, so we did kind of a guided meditation after we were initiated, so to speak. And it was basically, get you into a relaxed state, your eyes are closed, and then it's just go wherever you want to go. And I was floating over Japan. And
Yeah.
I was just like, this is amazing. I've never been to Japan. I still haven't been to Japan, but it's on my bucket list. But it was like, this is really cool. I don't know how I knew that's where I was because
You
I
just
didn't
feel it.
intentionally say I want to go to Japan. It was just, where does my soul want to go right now?
I just got the chills because you know it when you're there that you're either
Mhm.
it's not where you place is familiar to you. You feel an energy, or you're actually going, oh, I know that this is Japan. Just like that. Like how
Yeah.
you, yeah. I mean, what's kind of wild is also how that creative visualization, like if you kept doing that, where you go, I think I was in Japan, I'd like to do that again. Or if you said, I would like to go to Japan, I mean, you're not harming anyone to go travel to Japan.
Right.
Um, it's not like that. I don't mean when we say willful astral projection, there are plenty of things that we can want to go see that aren't hurting anybody. I personally still say a prayer like, if this serves okay, could
Yeah.
I please go there? That's what I do. But um, I do know that sometimes that creative visualization, which is another blur of an astral, because you're leaving the story of whatever you think is happening here and now into another kind of scene. I know that someone who I knew who was really good at astral projection. I had never been to Boston, but he was like, we're going to fly over Boston, so you can get a partner to astral with you and
Yeah.
then talk, or that partner can put something somewhere in their house, and you can say, I'm going to try to see what you did, and I'll tell you what I see. It's fun to partner with someone you trust who doesn't go, no, you're wrong, and all that. They can just work with you and get your confidence going. But I realized later when I had a job offer, it was so crazy because in those astral projections, we would fly over Boston, and then all of a sudden I was flying over Boston. Like of
Mhm.
all the jobs to get in anywhere in the world, it just happened to be Boston. And I thought, I think creative visualization is way more powerful than we thought too, because you can possibly really, I mean, we all have times when we've seen it come to play, what we visualize, but I think it's really good when um, you know, see things as the way you would want to see them. And then later, hopefully those things do materialize.
Yeah.
And it's in divine timing. Sometimes it comes so late you didn't remember you even wanted it. I think that's God smirking a little bit, like, haha, here it is. Yeah, but I was 7 when I was visualizing that. I don't think I
Right.
want it anymore, but yeah, okay, well, here it is.
Yeah. But if it's part of your soul's journey,
Yeah,
better late than never, I guess.
I guess so. Well, it's just divine timing, I
Yeah.
mean, it's all in there. In that way, it does seem like we're each a mosaic where everything that we love and everything that we, you know, kind of experience and want to experience, and all the things that all the gifts we came to share and all that, they're like little pieces that light up at different times. So when you're young and a piece of you lights up because you really, really want a swimming pool, why can't I have a swimming pool? And then later, when you don't want one anymore, that piece lights up again. Who knows why it comes when it does? I don't know.
This has been such a fun conversation. I hate that I'm actually out of time because I would love to just keep talking to you forever about this.
Well,
Um,
maybe we'll do it again sometime soon then. And I love the sound of your workshop. Where is that again? The talk that you're going to be giving? I don't
so
what?
I'm in Wake County in North Carolina. And so I have 5 libraries that I'm going to that are part of the Wake County library system. And I do this every year, but this is the first time I've done this particular talk. And I
Love
was trying to challenge myself. So it's all the ways. Like somebody told me, oh, you should just say like 12 ways. And I'm like, Now I'm going to challenge myself and see how many I can come up with.
Well, and the beauty in that is, you know what I was saying earlier about how when each of us individually do things like see ghosts or have do astral projection, it is unique to everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's NDE is unique, even if they have elements that often show up in many. It's still this cosmic experience for each individual. So I think it's okay to, to say all the ways, because it leaves room for everyone else there to have a voice.
Oh, yeah. And I'm leaving space at the end for people to either ask questions or share their own experiences
I
that
think you
maybe
won't
they
be
think
getting
don't
out
fit
of
in.
there. You'll be there a long time. You'll be there a long time because most people can't wait to tell their ghost story.
I know. And that's the reason I came up with this topic is it's the most asked thing that I get over the last decade of doing these. Everybody says, well, my house isn't that old. Why does it feel like I've got paranormal experiences going on? Or why does it feel like something weird is happening there? So it's like, well, let me just go ahead and answer that question and see what other questions it leads to.
Well, I will tell you, one of the things that I definitely do and repeat, but I definitely do when I enter a house to live in, I do the prayer that only that of the light be present here, by God's will, please, only of the light. And so, and then you have to repeat it. Like I said, they're not necessarily bad, but they might be a little mischievous. I mean, it's like, you have to kind of you have to have the authority of your space.
Oh, yeah.
You have spiritual authority of your space. So if anyone, feels overwhelmed because there's something that not great, I mean, they have the power to get rid of them. It's like ghosts don't have the power we have, really.
Right.
But they can cook up some,
some trouble.
It's all really, well, we could go on for hours. I mean,
we could. And I'd love to have you back on. But until then, how can people get in touch with you if they have questions to ask, or they want to find your books or look at your artwork, which is absolutely amazing, by the way?
Well, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, talk about projection. I'm going places in those too. Well, ElaineClayton.com. So that's ElaineClayton.com. That's my website. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. I do these fun little I draw and have it sped up so that they're like just short videos a lot. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I don't do Twitter, X, whatever we call it, much. I'm terrible at it, but I try. But I welcome, you can send messages to me through my website and all that. So or friend me on any of those platforms. And, I love hearing about people's experiences and doing the intuitive sessions and all that. So.
Awesome. Okay. I will put a link to your website in the show notes. And,
thank you. Okay.
Make sure that everybody has easy access to find you. And thank you again so much for doing this.
Thank you so much. It was such a treat, really.
Thanks again to Elaine for joining us, and thank you for listening. If you are interested in sharing your own personal paranormal experiences, or if you have an idea for an episode topic, please reach out through the contact form at peeppodcast.com. That's PEEP podcast.com. Remember, that stands for People Experiencing Everyday Paranormal. While you're there, subscribe to my newsletter to keep up with the podcast and all my creative and energetic endeavors. I only email it once a month, and you'll receive briefs on recent episodes, information on any upcoming appearances, and some additional fun stuff, including drawings for free books like the one I'm doing on Halloween. If you enjoy the podcast, please give it some rating love on your favorite podcast app. Share it with friends and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Ratings and reviews help the podcast be found by others. A huge thank you to everyone who has given the show some love. I truly appreciate it. No matter how you support the show, listening, telling others about it, financial support through the donate button on the website, or any other way, I absolutely appreciate your being here. Thanks again for listening. Stay safe and be well.